Hey everybody, this is my maiden voyage with my new desktop computer for live stream. Let's see how it goes. It's going to be a wild ride, I think. Hopefully not. So I'm just going to go ahead and authorize the chat. And of course I got to go through that whole thing with the email. So let me go ahead and sign in with my email address. We do that every week, right? So Painted Cliffs. So I hope everyone had a good week. It's already Wednesday. We made it. I say it every week. It's always a blessing to make it to the next Wednesday. Always. Putting in my password. And I just have to go ahead and weekly give OK to my software. And there we go. So it looks like we have Willie. How you doing? Kiva and Rick. How's everybody doing today? Let me make this a little bit bigger so we could all see each other. Let's see, bigger, bigger. That's good. Yeah, now we can see each other, see what we're saying. So how's everybody doing today? Anna, hello, all the way from Colombia. How's everything? So it's very cool. It's very good to have you. Willie, it's great to see you. Kiva and Rick, thank you so much for coming by. So a new project coming on, which is really exciting. This is a new black and white portrait. I'm going to get a little more involved with the figure, you know, maybe up to, you know, just below her breasts. So I did a very simple, not too crazy projection, just getting the basics correct. And I'm going to change things. So one of the things I want to change, as in this photo, you would normally see the contours here. So what I'm going, hey Norm, good to see ya. How's everything? Thank you so much for stopping by. So rather than have delineation, I'm having everything sort of blend out to this side. Sort of a very Caravaggio type of look. So that's what I'm basically looking for. So that's really great. So what I'm going to do is we are going to, how's the sound? Everything okay? Nothing too out of the ordinary? So I learned how to do this this time, guys. Let me show you. This is pretty interesting. So when I go to scene, I could do this. So, you know, almost professional, but so I can go to all just like that. I can. So that's something new, and thank you so much, Norm, for the check on the sound. I really appreciate it. So what we're going to do in the very early going is we are going to, I think the sound is much better on the desktop than, because I was going with the laptop all these times with the live stream. So I think there are some advantages to the desktop, and we're actually going to learn that hopefully as we go on in the coming weeks. I have a pretty powerful laptop, but it's not as it's never going to be as powerful as a desktop, so I'm told. So the paper that I'm using, guys, and thank you Willie and Rick, and you know, for the sound check, I appreciate that. Let's see. So James can't get in. Oh man. What he could do is just tell him to go to Facebook, go to YouTube and type in Timothy John Luke Smith, and it'll take you right to us. So that should help. So the paper is, of course, Dreadnought Gray by De La Rowney, and it's a cardstock. And there's two sides. One side has a little more texture, and one's a little smoother. So I always go with the smoother side. I like to make my own texture as opposed to the paper have the texture, at least when I'm doing India ink on paper. Different when you're working in pastel, of course, and different things like that, but working in India ink's a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is, remember the last time when we did that other painting of the portrait, we were working on this paper. And what I want to do is I want to come in with this white, and this is the Bamboo White India ink. And what I want to do is pretty much separate the layer of skin from the paper and bring that forward so we can use this mid-tone for the skin and sort of you know, pull her face forward in the light. So then this will be sort of like a dark light, not a, it won't be a mid-tone, but a dark light, and the white is going to be the light. So it's really going to look pretty good. So I'm pretty excited about it. So what we can do before we start is always try and lessen some of those pencil lines, because they always come back to haunt us, don't they? And you know, and then we can refine as we go, but let's go ahead and calm down these pencil lines, shall we? Took some time to decide today what I was going to do for the next 4 weeks, you know, with the live stream. So it was quite interesting. Sometimes it takes a while to get to the point where you're like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm just tapping it, and you see I'm pulling up a lot of the graphite. And then what we'll do is we'll also refine some of these shapes while we can. And I'm using a relatively clean kneaded eraser here. So what do you guys think of the picture as opposed to last week? Is it too dark or anything like that? Clearer? Any comments, you know, regarding the new picture with the new PC? So looking at Ink Flinger's Facebook group, I see a lot of people are doing some great things. Gaston did something. Rick was working on a landscape. I think that was pretty great. And I really like Kiva's superheroes that she's doing, the murals in her house, which is really very cool. Reminds me of the days when I used to work at Bye Bye Baby. I used to paint the baby furniture superheroes, so that was fun. Norm says, Rick, I think the chat only works if you're logged in with your Google account. True, you have to log in with your Google account, yes. So how you doing, James? Good to see you. Thank you so much for coming, man. Sorry you had trouble finding us. Especially when I'm doing the white, it really pays to just go ahead and lighten things up. So when you're doing it, you do this and it will pay dividends like way in the future of this painting. And what we're going to do is we're going to refine some of these contours. You know, a projection is definitely just something to give you a placement. You don't want to rely on it. Drawing is everything, so you want to make sure that your drawing is sound. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can refine a lot with the airbrush, but still. So Norm, did you get your projector? Norm was purchasing a projector this week. And I have several pencils. Some have harder leads and softer leads. I think this one has a harder lead. Harder means it's doesn't leave as much graphite behind when you draw, which is good, especially in this early stage. Yeah, I'm so sorry it took long for you to get in here, sir. Sometimes it's quirky, you know, the live streams. I'm going to work on the most important part, which is the eyes and the lips and things that, you definitely want to make sure 100% before you go in with the airbrush. Norm says, yes, it's great. It allows you to see the finished artwork before you even paint anything. Great for framing the image. Yes, totally great for composition. I find, especially when I work large, it really makes a big difference. Just saves you like just a boatload of time, right? Yes, Rick, your landscape is looking really nice. So congratulations on that. I really love the way it's coming out. So yeah, we are all doing some really good stuff. Gaston just finished something that was pretty good. Oh, today is Colin Pierce's birthday. Even though he's not here, I'm sure he's going to watch the live stream later. So everyone wish Colin a happy birthday. He actually got himself a California Air Tools compressor, so that's pretty cool. He said happy birthday to himself. So hey, those are sometimes the best presents are the ones you get yourself. Oh yes, the email's a good way to get here too. Um, what you could do if any of you, no, that's the hard thing. It's hard for me to get out while I'm doing the live stream. I wish I could, guys. I didn't send out an email today because I was busy, wrestling with this new computer and doing the live streams. You have to recalibrate everything. It's more complicated than you would imagine. Live streaming is not an easy thing to do. It gets easier as you do it more and more. I've been doing live streams rather regularly for about 6 or 7 months now, maybe even longer. I've been doing it irregularly a lot longer than that. Yes, I heard Kiva and Norm that one with the LED will last you like, 10 years or something like that because it doesn't use a bulb. Isn't that something? And here, you got to be careful because her lips get real fuzzy over here. Oh man, sorry you're having trouble there, James. Some weeks are like that, with the live streams. There are some times when, Wendy might be having trouble or, it just happens. If you go to my Facebook page, Timothy John Luke Smith Facebook page, James, there's a link that takes you right to it. Right to my, maybe that will help. Oh, Kiva says that she didn't know that you needed a very large airbrush to do mural work. So you have to use one of those guns. Is that true, Kiva? As you see, we're just basically doing some very subtle pencil lines, nothing too crazy. But we do want to have accurate contours, beautiful line, which is so important. And you want to make sure that we're working with the anatomy of the model, not against it. Now, in a perfect scenario, I definitely would be using I definitely would be drawing a little bit longer. But for the purpose of this live stream, it's mostly about Airbrush and India Ink. There we go. So really creating a beautiful line, that is key. And we'll sculpt the hair a little bit later. And Norm says, Tim, did you make a second copy for tracing on paper to use as a mask like you did in the previous videos? No, I didn't. Good question, Norm. Very good question. In this one, I wanted to be a little softer. So I am foregoing the mask and I'm just going to be a little more subtle. The last couple of ones have been a little more stronger lights and darks, and so this one I just want to be a little more sensitive with the light, so I'm not going to do any mask, and it's going to be a lot more soft edged. Subtle, I guess. Oh, okay. So sometimes there is a delay depending on the internet connection. That does happen, James. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just soften up some of these lines here. And then we're going to come in with that white. When you're using white, it's so important to, now this is a 0.20 and it's my go-to brush for everything. However, when I'm using white, I want to use this one, which is a 0.35. And this is the Eclipse, this is the CS-SBS, I believe. Let me see. It is the HP-SBS, the side feed. But the good thing about it has a very wide nozzle. So you definitely want to use a wide nozzle airbrush when you're using white. You don't want to have a smaller one because the white is very opaque and very thick, and it dries much faster than regular. So Norm says, did I get the micron all fixed? Actually, the nozzle comes on Friday, so that's cool. Thanks for asking. Yes, I'm waiting for that nozzle. So definitely gonna do some reconstructive work on that micron. But the Sotar is doing really good, thank God. Sotar is a lot more robust than the the microns are by far. So, Bill, how you doing? Good to see you. How's everything? Okay, now, this eye here, it's rather interesting. We do have quite a lot of space between the iris and the bottom lid here. Sort of comes out right like here. So we do have a lot of play here. You definitely want to get this right. This is crucial. We have plenty of time to take our time, be subtle when it comes to working in airbrush the way we do, because we go in very lightly. And we're not thinking, in a million years are we thinking likeness at this point. Now we're thinking big, large shapes, getting everything correct. And even larger shapes we're going to be thinking of when we're going in with the white. So I do see, so what my thinking is, I see a blast of white here. So you figure the light is coming from here, this direction. So you know that anything, so if it's coming from the upper right, so anything on the upper right side is, the lower right side is going to be direct lighting. So you got here, so light's hitting her nose. It's hitting this part of the lip, her forehead, her hair, her breast, her shoulder, and in different degrees too. So you really want to take note on what exactly is happening. Bill, good to see you, man. Thank you so much for coming by, as always. Really wonderful portrait of those dogs. Wow, great job. Really loved it. So we are going to just do some real basic. Now right here, we have her nostril, and I do want to touch on that with the pencil when you can. We may adjust this, but right now we're just doing the really large shapes. You also want to see, where this nostril falls, like where does the end of the nostril fall, and you see that it falls just to the left of where this light hits, where this terminator between the light and the dark. So just to the left of that. So we're looking just to the left of that, maybe a little further off here, because there is some space here. And we want to make sure it's high enough, and I think it is. And you want to make sure that you're having the ensemble, that you're doing everything together. And this is good not just for airbrush, for whatever medium you're doing. The initial sketch is very important. It's not the end-all and be-all. You definitely will be able to go ahead and adjust down the line. However, you know, you want to be close in the early going, at least with the large shapes. Oh, cool. So Bill says anyone want to learn fur techniques, that he's offering classes cheap, although you won't get to keep the paintings. Interesting. Okay, very cool. Oh, almost like the way Tom Sawyer made people paint the fence, right? That's pretty funny. So I should teach portraits, but they can't keep the portraits. That's funny. I think you got a good business model going there, Bill. So you see that I am worrying about the angles and the shapes here. Everything sort of disappears into this shadow area. And I want you to really see things as they are. Don't get hung up on what you think things look like. So the picture quality is good. Could it be a little lighter or darker to your taste? What do you guys think? Bill wants to get Kiva to do a lot of pet portraits for him. He did ask you nicely, Kiva. But Kiva's been inundated with the portraits. That's for sure. Oh, thank you, Willie, for the pictures check. Great. So it's not too saturated or anything. I appreciate that. I've done several tests since I got this computer, and because I am doing digital art now, so I needed something a little stronger. These programs are so processor. They tax the processor and the video card really a lot. So if you have a regular computer, you can't do live streams like this. Not when it comes to, you know, very detailed things like this. It's very difficult. Even now, right now I have a wireless connection, and I'm at the mercy of wireless and whether or not I'm getting any kind of bandwidth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hardwire from the modem in the other end of the house and run a cable all the way, a Cat 5 or Cat 9 cable, Cat 5 cable all the way to this studio. So I'll have hardwired internet. So that would be really nice. So like right here with her eyes, you want to make sure that we are getting this expression. And I do love this expression. I always love the expression when a woman is looking, has her head pointed down, looking up at you. I just like a femme fatale look, you know? You'll see that in a lot of my paintings. I really love that look. Thank you so much, Willie. Yes, go all out. That's the way. Go all in, or what is it? How does it go? Go big or stay home, or something like that. I think that's it. You know, because I do want my live streams to be really professional, next level stuff. But this week, I think I'm going to do one of those 15-minute YouTube videos, so that's going to be fun. And what I also try and understand what's happening with the anatomy here. So right here you can see this the sternocleidomastoid right here as it's skirting onto the clavicle, which is this bone right here, or called the collarbone. Same thing here, you're seeing the shadow side of the collarbone right here. you're not seeing the light side. It sort of disappears into her skin. And then the pectoral shadow right here going into her breast area. And understanding is really go big or stay home. Exactly, James. Thank you so much. That's it. You know, you have to go all out. And, you know, one of the big things I do see is many people, since they're not making, you know, a lot of money on something, then they'll just go ahead and give it, you know, not much attention. However, I feel that how much money you make means nothing to how serious you are about whatever it is you're doing. I mean, my whole career I haven't made a lot of money in art, but I never took anything as serious. Well, except when I was married, of course, but I never took anything as serious as that. Norm says, has I ever discussed the topics of signing your painting? No, I haven't. What a great idea. I mean, a great topic of discussion. So guys, tell me, how do you guys sign your painting? Do you have a symbol? Do you have a signature? How big should it be? What are some of your guys' thoughts on that as I'm working on this here? That's a great topic of discussion. Funny story. Kiva says she signs the back of the work, not the front of the work, because you don't want it to obscure what you're doing. Is that it, Kiva? Obscure the composition, I should say. When I said my marriage, my marriage is over. I'm currently not married. When I send out paint pals, I usually sign the front of my screen name, James says. Wow, that's pretty cool. And then Bill Kennedy says, W. Leon signature. What is that? Oh, paint pals. That's very interesting. Now, I know there is a forum, an Airbrush forum. Is that what you are alluding to, James? Because that's pretty cool. Very cool. Now, right here was interesting because her shoulder sort of comes up here like this. What I'm seeing here is that I'm going to have to resolve what I'm going to do with this shoulder down the line. We're just going to leave that as is right now, because since I'm darkening it, what's happening is that this part of her shoulder, see, here's her clavicle coming up here, and then there's this shadow line, but you're not seeing anything. You're just seeing this sort of triangle of light, and then here we have her contour, or the beginning of the shoulder here. And I think it might be in my best interest compositionally to somehow, I don't want to lose what's happening here in the shoulder. So I think I'm definitely going to work it out where I can definitely incorporate this contour, because I think without it, it definitely wouldn't work. But I do want this part of the face to blend in, which is really important. You know, you want to compose your painting, even if you're working from, you know, especially if you're working from reference, you want to compose it. You have complete artistic license. You can do whatever you want. And some of the ways you can actually compose it, you can look at photos, other photos, and actually go ahead and change it to what's happening with the lighting of other photos. And that's where, for me, digital art is coming in, because I'm able to go ahead and make changes in Critter or Paint Shop or Corel Draw. And then you really could change lighting. You can create rim lights, all the really cool things that you normally wouldn't be able to do. So that's why I'm spending a lot of time and effort and resources learning digital art, which will be a support for this art. And who knows, I might be able to do some commissions for some companies down the line. That wouldn't be too bad. As artists, we always need different streams of income, am I right? That's the only way we're going to make it. Not like getting a regular job, unfortunately. And fortunately at the same time. Okay, so this contour, we really want to make sure we thin it out so it doesn't become an issue when we come in with the white. Because this is going to be all the white side, so we don't want that pencil line to show through. Bill says he definitely needs to work digitally more. Yes, that's it. You know, we have to learn. And one of the things I'm doing is, although I do have Corel Paint, I am very happy using Krita, which is a free open software. Really is fantastic, and you can do really pro work on that. And I'm learning the ins and outs of it, which is really very difficult and very hard. James says, I have a hard enough time using an airbrush. Me too. You know, it's difficult, right? But we just keep working, James, and you know, who knows where your artistic life's going to take you. You might end up doing something you never thought you would. I mean, I never thought I'd be doing airbrush. I was, you know, classically trained doing pastels and oils, and, you know, airbrush was looked down upon in New York City art schools. And look what happened. You never know, right? You guys never know. But it's important to make sure that you always stay ahead of the game. You always try and do radical things to push your artwork to the next level. And whether it be learning a new medium or digital art or video, because that's what separates the artist today is video. Because now we can do what's really great, which I really love seeing, is the thing that I see all the time is the speed painting. I know I don't like doing them as a learning tool. I don't think they're good as a learning tool, but they're just really good as performance art, and I really enjoy that. I do that. My camera, I have the Canon SL2, and it has a built-in time-lapse feature, which is really great, really fantastic. It definitely is fun to see what different people are doing, James, definitely. And of course I'm using this mono eraser to really get in there. What I want to do is make sure that the eyes are the same size in diameter. And then I'll worry about, you know, how much of it is being obscured with the light shadow side on this side. Here we go. All right, so now let's just go ahead and get rid of some of those, lighten up some of those pencil lines even more. And then we're going to be ready to go in with the white pastel. Not the white airbrush. in the India Ink. Kiva says she's all over the place. Can't figure out what I should be doing. One day is a mural, next day is art. Still finding my niche. Your niche is very important to find, guys. I really think it's one of the crucial things that we need to look for, especially, you know, when you want to be known in the art world. And that's very important. Hey, how you doing, Lupita? How's everything? Feliz Año Nuevo. And how's everything going with your cookie channel? I haven't stopped by in a while. I'm definitely going to do that this week. Thank you so much for the wonderful comment on the drawing. If you guys haven't tried, go to the Cookie Couture channel. And she makes incredible cookies for every occasion. You guys definitely got to check her out. She's really fantastic. And who doesn't love cookies? That's for sure. And as you can see, we lightened everything up. What's really great, so you are doing great. You are working hard, but you have so much talent in that, Lupita. So, you know, I know you're successful, and you're just going to continue being successful with that channel. Please keep doing it, because it's really fantastic. But definitely, and Lupita will definitely agree that it's so important to find your niche, not only on YouTube, but also in the art world. You want to be known for something. You don't want to be part of the pack. You know, you want to be doing something that is just you. You know, just amplify yourself. Mine too. Lupita says her channel is growing little by little. So's mine. So's our little channel. It's still growing, but not as fast as some of the channels. But I don't want it to grow fast. I like the fact that I could talk to you guys one-on-one. You ever see the live streams for the channels that are really huge? It goes through like there's no way you can read it because it goes by so fast. The different questions. So I do love the fact that we're growing and growing slow, because I get to really get to know you guys. Okay. So now I think we have a general grasp of what we are looking for here. Okay, so we're going to move our artwork out of the way as always. Yeah, the small channel is so important. It's a very important stage in the development of a YouTube channel, of a YouTube community like we're building here. It's very, very important. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our white, and we want to get it to that consistency of skim milk. So let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one more, 6. Okay. So we have that, and we have our clean water. Water has to be crystal clear when going in with white. It can't have any ink water in there or anything like that, because that will contaminate the white and you'll have an off-white, and that is by far not a good thing. So we're going to go ahead and maybe do, I would say, I think that's good. Maybe, okay. I did like 1 full eyedropper of water to, let's say, 5 or 6 drops of white India ink. And that is by Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay White India Ink. And Lupita says, You're right. Finding a niche is so important. It took her a few years to figure out that cookie decorating was her thing and started baking cakes, cupcakes, and all big stuff. Great. And that's because things are now you found your niche, and this is something that people love, and I know I love it, and I really know there's a need for it. So congratulations on finding that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to fire up our 0.35 airbrush here. Now, I am not sure if this was tuned last time I cleaned it, so let's hope it's still tuned, right? Keep our fingers crossed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to find a dark paper or something to see if it is tuned correctly. I'll use the back of this gunmetal paper here, and then we'll go ahead and check this out. So I went ahead and loaded this pretty full. When I do the white on the painting, I definitely like to have a low air pressure. And I'm checking to see one of the things you want to make sure, because you want to do a dark, you want to make sure that no white is coming out before you push back. That's going to make your life real miserable. And you're going to have white where you don't want it. So you see I'm doing my little dots. And it's showing up because we're doing it on a dark paper. See my little baby dagger strokes. See that? Okay, so we are in good shape. Now let's bring back our model here. Wendy, good to see you. How you feeling? I know Wendy wasn't feeling too well the other day, so I know you were having allergies. Are they better? I hope so. Okay, so here goes the oh, thank you so much. And Lupita says, great to see me using the airbrush. Yours is still in the box. Oh, wow. So one of these days when you have time, just take it out and start playing with it. Just, get some color and some ink, and just have fun. That's the main thing when you're starting out, is to have fun and just test it out, get a feel for it. Don't try and make masterpieces in the beginning, because just do that should be great. Okay, so I'm feeling comfortable, and I'm going to stand up for this. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to very lightly. One of the things is when you're putting in the white, guys, it has like a second delay. When it first goes on, it goes on wet. So you're really not seeing anything. Second it dries, the white comes. Isn't that interesting? And if you want more subtlety, you just increase your distance away from the surface of the paper. And if you want to build up some white, you just increase or decrease the distance. So closer for stronger white, further away. I recommend about 6 inches from the surface. Remember, you can always go whiter down the line, so it's no pressure. I did a good job of calming down the pencil strokes, because remember the last painting we did, it kind of came back to haunt us, didn't it? I'm so sorry you're not feeling well, and Wendy, I hope you feel better. Now, one of the things is You see how the position of this, which is very crucial, that, that you have it facing up, that's so important. One shot while you're moving. Don't go back until you're good and dry. Crucial instruction there. We're going for the utmost amount of subtlety. Subtlety is king here. So you want to make sure that you are being very soft, and you're seeing that the white India ink reacts just like the white of any kind of acrylic. It's very weird. White has a lot of particles to get that white, so it's just something that you can't escape. Some whites are better than others. And you want to make sure you blow out the airbrush. Got sort of a blast of light here. Think of Ingres' portrait drawings. That's Ingres. Check out his portrait drawings. He did when he was a young man living in Rome. He did these little portrait commissions that were the most beautiful drawings I have ever seen. What we're going to do is we're always going to go ahead and test out our flow here. Make sure that things are flowing correctly. Now, what's interesting is when you airbrush a lot, especially with the same airbrush, you get a feeling of that airbrush. One of the things I do feel here is that sometimes the needle gets stuck in the nozzle a little bit, and then what I do is I just pull it out and pull it back in after I release the checking nut, and then I have that smoothness again. But like I said, I'm not all that happy with Iwata lately, and that's because I've been using the Sotar. But what I'm making sure is that I'm not getting trailing. If I'm getting any kind of trails, then that's just going to hurt my painting. And so that's something you definitely want to watch out for. So I am waiting on a couple of Badger airbrushes, and I'm excited about that. So this way I'll be able to have a larger nozzle Badger, which I'm definitely looking forward to. But as right now, I'm wrestling with this Iwata. But it's important to really keep that subtlety. Make sure that the white is dry before you go over it again. You don't want to put wet white on top of wet white. And Willie says, Tim, how are you doing with the Extreme Patriot? I do like it a lot. I just don't like that really high trigger. So I'm going to and I know it's a good idea and everything, but I'm not happy with that trigger. So I'm going to change it out with a shorter trigger. I just can't get used to it. And at this stage of my artistic career, I don't want to get used to something. Not radical. You know, Willie, I want something to work for me as soon as it hits the canvas or the paper. Sort of like I want the materials to cater to me, not the other way around. So that's important. So it is great for a lot of people. A lot of people love that high trigger, but for me, it's not something that that I enjoy or want to get used to. But as far as detail and everything, and it has the very large nozzle, which is great, and it really is the Badger's answer to the Eclipse series. As I'm going, I see little pencil lines. Before I put that white is almost like, you know, you can't erase it once you put the white down. So you want to make sure it's very, very clear, you know, very clean. Wendy says she needs to call her mom and find out. Hasn't told me because I usually sleep constantly after I take meds. Oh, wow. Oh, so you don't know if you got your airbrush yet? Oh, okay. I hope you did. I'm pretty sure you did. But if not, tomorrow, right? But I definitely want to hear about it, Wendy. And let's go ahead and use some of our freehand shields here. We're going to put in some white. We do have a blast of white here on her shoulder. And it's just nice, you see how it separates from the mid-tone of the paper, which looked light enough before, but once you put this really subtle light to it, this subtle white on top, you can see it creates volume even right off the bat. And here I have a slight little pencil line, so we want to be very careful. This is all going to be dark, so it's okay if we are not careful. Another reason why I didn't go with the masking this time. So I'm about 5 inches away from the surface. Yes, shields are great. Uh-oh. Oh, I hit the wrong button somewhere. So thank God it didn't affect the live stream. So let's see. So James says he needs to get some shields. Those are great, definitely. Rick says my Sotar is up and running, but I have been using my Spirit lately. I hear that's a very good airbrush. How do you like that? So did anyone get airbrushes with that big sale that Ken had? And we do have some other really great freehand shields here. Wait out, I think they're in this drawer. This, of course, is my all-time favorite. It's a little version of the larger one, the pinup shield, I think it's called. Let's see. Just got to get situated here. So Rick says, I love it. James got a 100. I really love that too. Oh, great. So James said he missed the sale but got a Badger 100 for $85. Very nice. Bill says, no new airbrush for me, although I have a $100 Anthem, a Sotar, and a Chrome ready. Nice. Hey, Heath, how you doing, man? Good to see ya. Thank you so much for stopping by. Great to see everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time on your Wednesday to hang out with me. I really appreciate it. And it looks like really light now, even though it is really subtle. But remember the whole idea of simultaneous contrast, and what exactly that is that things are lighter or darker depending on what's next to it. So that's a very interesting phenomena. That blast of light here on her breast. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't really care whether this is going to be going over or not, because this is going to be a dark color background, so we don't have any worries about that. But on the inner contours, we do have some worries, so we don't want to have pencil lines showing up down the road. So let's be more careful now, you know. Oh, well, take care. Take care, Lupita. Always great to see you. You're as talented as well, and I'm wishing you all, thank you so much, and wishing you all the same luck and fortune in 2019 and wonderful health and all that good stuff. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm definitely going to stop by your channel this week. So I really appreciate it. If you guys get a chance, stop by her channel. You learn how to make some incredible cookies for every single occasion, which is really cool. Very creative, very artistic. Remember I told you this little triangle we have here. We're going to just go ahead and hit that. And I'm still a good distance away, but it's really nice how we are able to go ahead and, you know, establish this light here. Now here's a tricky spot. We are doing the lights, not the little shadow here, but we can't have the shadow with pencil right now because the overspray of the white is going to trap that line and we're going to lose our subtlety. We don't want to do that. These are very subtle light and dark transitions here, and we can't have pencil lines in the inner contours. Believe me, you guys who work in acrylic know this more so, because I also work in acrylic from time to time. Now I want to make sure I'm not getting trailing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to test it. And we are getting some trailing, so I'm going to blow out the airbrush a little bit. Yeah, okay, so yeah, terrible amount of trailing here. And I won't go forward with the work if there's any kind of trailing. I'd rather wait until the airbrush is 100% than go further when the airbrush is not working correctly. You know, the Iwata airbrushes are really getting on my nerves, especially when I started with Badger. So this is a good testament to Badger, you know, because this is just annoying and unacceptable. So Iwata, if you're out there, step up to the plate, why don't you? Why don't you, you know, we're not automotive people, so why don't you go ahead and step up to some of your fine art people? Of course, you're not paying attention to us because we're not Dave Monning and Coast Airbrush, right? So what I'm going to do is I am actually going to break out the Badger, if I could find it. Because, you know, the trailing is really horrible. By trailing, no, this is trailing, guys, so I'll show you, James. When you put down the airbrush and you stop, and it continues, you see that? So you're getting paint spillage even though you're not pulling back. And that could be something in the nozzle. This is a 0.35 nozzle. Unacceptable. Unacceptable quality, Iwata. I'm calling out Iwata, so let's see if they respond. They probably won't. I'll be right back, guys. Gonna go get the Patriot. Okay, here's the Patriot. Now, I'm not crazy about the high trigger, okay? But I'd rather have a high trigger than have what Iwata is doing to me right now, or doing to us. So let's go ahead and put this Iwata to sleep where it deserves to be. And then we're going to take the paint away from this Iwata, or the ink. And we're going to just go ahead and put this one away. Now, it's very crucial that the cap is on. Now, let's see how we do with this airbrush in terms of others. Now, James says we've been having trouble with the ink spraying without pulling back on the trigger. Yes, that's exactly it. The reduction of the white is like skim milk, so it was like 5 drops of... Now look, the same exact ink, and look how beautiful it's working here. There's no trailing whatsoever. Look at the difference, even from the early going when it was working well. Look at the difference of atomization with the Badger. I wouldn't switch. Now, Willie, that's a good question. Can I switch the trigger from the 2020? I'm sure I could, and that's the thing. I would have to get another 2020 trigger, and I'm going to ask Ken to get me one of them, or what I have to do to get one. So this is really nice, and what I can do, of course, is I can adjust the air pressure. I'll tell you, I don't know what it is. Maybe my Iwatas are getting old or whatever, but when I'm working with Badger, I don't have the same trouble that I do with Iwata. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just soured by Iwata or something, but the airbrushes are not working for me, guys. They really aren't. So I do need a trigger, because I do love the trigger going on with the... See how you have the low trigger with the Sotar? So if I can get a Sotar trigger and put it on my Extreme Patriot, that would be really nice. So that's a great idea. Thank you so much. It's really a great idea, the high trigger. It's just, for me, it's going to take a while to get used to, but I'd rather just get a low trigger. So do they sell the Extreme Patriot without the high trigger? Look how beautiful that is. So much more control. So much more happy working with Badger, guys. And this whole scenario was not planned. I wasn't bringing out the Iwata for it to suck on purpose. It just sucked on its own. Oh, great. So Rick says his has a high trigger. Bill says no, but I can get a standard Patriot trigger and go on that. Okay, great. Beautiful control, much more subtle. Just a dream to work with, guys. Just make sure this is on tight. So who has an Extreme Patriot out there? Like I said, guys, I'm not real concerned whether or not this is perfect. But I would like to have a nice contour here because it is a little more subtle transition. So I'm okay with that there. Same thing here. Here we go. Oh, right now I'm painting with the Badger Extreme Patriot Arrow. Beautiful airbrush. Very wonderful. So James says he knows a guy who's making custom triggers, but I don't think he makes Badger parts. Oh, bummer. So Rick says his Patriot has a needle of 0.5. So Bill, is the Patriot a 0.5, the Extreme Patriot? We got to get Ken here one day. What do you guys think? Would that be good to have Ken as a guest? Because he said he would actually come by and talk. It would be great for everyone to ask questions, right? The standard Patriot and Extreme use entirely different nozzles and needle sizes. Very interesting. Let's see how much ink we have left in here. We're getting a little low, but I think we have a little bit we can continue to go here. I do love the way it feels, and I'm going to lower the air pressure because I'm doing some detail. So Willie says that would be very cool, and Heath, so I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to talk to Ken and see if he can come on and, you know, just chat with us. Maybe even do a Skype where the whole thing will just pretty much, you know, hang out. So that would be great. And he did actually say he'd like to stop by one day. So I think that would be fantastic. So Bill says he's not sure of the extreme sizes. The regular Patriot can be outfitted with fine, medium, or large setup. The medium is 0.7. 0.7? Wow. That's a really large nozzle, right? How is it working on that? You know, like anything else, you can probably have a 0.7 to get fine detail if you have the control, right? So let's see. So he says my Sotar is a 3-in-1, comes with a 0.2, which is the one that I have, and then you have a 0.3 and a 0.5. Makes it an all-purpose one. And then Rick says, wow, I need to mic mine then. Oh, wow. So that's cool. Now, Rick, what do you mean by micing yours? So I have no trailing, so I do have a lot of confidence going in with detail here. So Bill says with the 3-in-1 needle system I can get pencil thin with a 7. Wow. See, yeah, it's true. It's all in control, right? And air pressure. Well, it's the big three, right? Isn't the big three? We have air pressure. We have actually four. Air pressure. We have the viscosity or the dilution of the pigment, and then you have the distance. So that's three. There's one more. And then the air pressure, the viscosity, how much you pull back on the trigger, and then lastly the distance. So there's four. Those four determine control. And if you can get those together in a sweet spot, you're going to be just fine. But it's learning that control, right? Oh, James says, Tim, working with my work with the white is amazing. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. It looks kind of messy now, but all this is really going to come together because we're establishing this whole base coat of her skin, which, as you've seen in paintings past, it just comes together at the very end, you know? Now, the real subtleties, we're not going to really worry about the airbrush because we don't need to. We're working on paper. So the real subtleties are going to come in with the white pastel. And that's really going to bring everything together. So it's all planning like a chess game, right? You're planning like, we're planning like 15 moves ahead. And that's why I do these live streams. And I'm so glad you guys are seeing them over and over again. They're not repetitive. It's just teaching you guys that whole game plan. And then you guys can go ahead and change that game plan for yourselves to fit yourselves. So that's good. Bill says it's a quick jump from little to lots on those needles. Very nice to do lettering to get a thin and wide spray quickly. But it takes a lot of control, yes. So guys, you want to hear something funny? Actually, it's not all that funny, but it's kind of funny. I was doing this temp gig, and I got fired. So I got fired yesterday. And I'm like, really? And I got fired for asking a question. How do you get fired for asking a question, guys? That's unbelievable. Probably the best thing that happened to me. So I'm no longer at that place where I was for the past 3 months. So I'm going to have more time to paint for the next couple of days until I find something else. Willie says, how much is the needle and tip for the Sotar? I've never looked. New needle is $20. Okay, very cool, not bad. It's better than the Micron, that's for sure. I'm going to build up some white here and there, just where it gets hotter. We can build that up right now so we get some depth into our skin tones. If we went ahead and tried to continue with the eclipse that wasn't working, even though it was working in the beginning, you know, to continue with that, it would have made a disaster of our painting. So don't mess with an airbrush if it's not working correctly. Just continue your painting until you get that resolved. Now I'm looking at this and I'm going to look at my reference and I'm going to see, you know, just the large shapes of white here. Those large areas of light. We do have some here in this dress. But look how subtle and controlled I come in with the white. Don't oversaturate it. let the ink catch up to the surface, meaning let it dry, let it become part of that surface before you go over it again. One coat, never two at a time, ever. That's a disaster. Nice blast of light here on this side of her breast. So James says, yes, they were just looking at an excuse to fire me. Exactly, because there was 2 temps, and one temp was there for like a whole year, and I was there for 3 months, and they just made that temp a full-time. So you're right, they were just looking for anything to get rid of me, because I was doing a lot of work, and I said to myself, so now that they let me go, they're going to have like double the amount of work today. So, you know, I don't know. Well, the person who fired me is not going to have to work. The person who I was working with in my department are. I feel bad for them. And I literally asked a question and they didn't like it. And they said, go home, your assignment's over. And I'm like, really? Incredible. Just unbelievable. You know, it's their company. They can do what they want, and you know what? I'm not judging anybody. You know, I tried my best, and that's all I can do. Just like I try my best here, right? That's all I can do. And so James says, that's a mistake I make a lot. I spray another layer while it's still wet. I think 3 live streams ago, the boxer girl. And that one, we had a problem in the very early going where I erased it when it was still wet. And it took till the end of the painting to fix that, of just lightly going over. So yes, that's a really big caveat, right? Definitely. Thanks for mentioning that, James. That's a very big caveat. That happens to the best of us. Raul, how you doing, man? No, it's all good, Raul. Thanks so much. You know, did me a favor. That's for sure. So how could I find something I really like if I'm being loyal at a job that I'm not supposed to be at? Okay, let's see. So Rick says, the only thing I don't like about my Patriot is the head assembly. The needle is exposed. Interesting. So you mean like right here, this part? Let me just change the. So this part here, you're saying that the needle is exposed and you're not happy about that? Very interesting. So I could see your point. Maybe you want it protected more. I could see that. Oh yes, Raul says maybe it's a higher call to follow my dream. Definitely, it really is, and you know I can affect more people that way, and you know I just let things happen. Of course, I got to put food on the table, pay rent, and all that. So, you know. Things always work out for the best. That's how I look at it. Oh, interesting. Okay. Let's see. Take a look here with that crown cap. I can see what you're saying, and I could see that. So you're afraid of bending your needle. Is that correct, Rick? I can see that. So I'm really pretty happy with the way the white is going right now. Now with the hair, I'm not going to do anything. There is some white here, but that probably would be better served with some white pastel, I think. Wendy says, definitely a blessing in disguise. Yes, at first I was like, holy cow, you know. I was a little jarring at first. But then when I woke up this morning, I had a different job interview today. And I just feel good about it, you know. Not necessarily the job interview, but I feel good about other opportunities out there. And being a loyal person, I would have been loyal to that company I was working for. But there's always better things on the horizon. So now, I was working on this arm, so I'm not going to erase over here, but over here it's thoroughly dry. So let's take our kneaded eraser. I'm going to sit down again. Let me get some water. So you guys, so Rick says it looks like I have the wrong needle on it. Bill says it does. It's just weird look, but the airbrush really just works great, much better than the Eclipse. And this is living proof. You guys seen it go down tonight. So Heat says opens the door for bigger and better. Tim, thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate your prayers out there. Taking a quick sip of water there. So tell me, guys, on what devices are you guys working on, right? Are looking at this? How many people are you guys watching on TV, on a PC, laptop, phone, or tablet? I'd love to hear, you know, what you guys are watching this on. I'll tell you, this is the first time I'm doing a live stream on a regular computer. So Kiva is MacBook, Wendy is a computer, and Rick is a phone. Raul is an iPad. Very cool. What a great iPad Pro. What a great variety of different things. Willie is watching on a tablet, like a Samsung tablet, Willie. That's very cool. He says he watches on his laptop and chats with his iPad. Now that's really cool. That's cool. And Bill says the Sotar sticks out pretty far, further than the Olympus even. Let's take a look. And you're right, that Sotar does stick out pretty far. Let's take a look real fast. Oh, look at that. Yeah, it does. It does stick out. But that gives you that really extra fine line, I think. Norm says on a Linux desktop. That's really cool. So kudos to you there, Norm. You know your stuff working with Linux. That's great. And James says he's watching on his tablet but listening through the phone. Very cool. Very, very cool. So a Samsung tablet. I have one of them. I really love it. I use it all the time. I think what happened at that job is that they kind of sensed that I have something else going, that I wasn't going to be a lifer in the company. And I think it's just written on my face. You know, whenever I have a job, you know, I don't tell them who I am or what I do, but I don't know. I just give that impression, like the companies are like, this guy's not for long. And they're right. As soon as the art's going to pay, I'm gone. So their, how do you say, their instincts are not betraying them. So what do you guys think? I think this is a pretty good start, because what we're doing is we're laying down the groundwork of here. You see, we got that going down. See that? So this is our beginning here. And we can already see that we're pretty much getting the emotion and the power of that light on her, because we're painting light, right guys? That's what we're doing. We are working on the illusion of light hitting a three-dimensional object. Of course, this young lady's not an object. She's a person, a spiritual person, and we're doing that. But to get the spiritual qualities of a model, we have to know what's going on physically, how the light is physically reacting to her. and we glow, right? Especially like in this picture, it's like a dark room, or maybe it's not so dark and they're manipulated to flash. They can do that, but gives the impression of her being in a dark room with like a strong window light. So she's kind of glowing, and I want to really get that feel that she is glowing here. So James says he's been practicing with his shading lately and find it so hard to make it look smooth. Increase your distance, James. That is probably going to be something that will really help you. So let's say if you're too close, you're going to be making really strong decisions, right? So let me see if I could just do a quick analogy for you guys here. So we have two spheres, right, in space. So we have this one here. So look what happens when I'm close. So I'm making like, it's really hard when I'm close to make real subtle changes. You see that? But look when I increase my distance. See that? I'm increasing my distance. And look how subtle I can make those changes. Only because lowered my air pressure and increased my distance and even go further back and then come back. But look at that. So, okay, so I have this really nice subtlety here. So I can just gradually come in here, just very gradually, and get lighter. But going in further. See that? And then I could even, for the highlight, I can go real close. So you see that? It's when you're working really close, you don't have that ability to make subtle changes because you're working with a dark color. So I hope that helps. That helped me in the past. So definitely is something. Distance, viscosity, and trigger control. Very true. And that is wise words there, Bill. Thank you for that. We have a little blast of light right here, so let's indicate that. Remember, good size distance, I don't have to worry about going too powerful too early. Oh, I'm glad. So James says it helps a lot. I appreciate that. So practice that. Practice your distance, lowering the air pressure, and I think you're going to have a better time. Sometimes these glasses make things worse. Do you find that sometimes that you see worse with the glasses at times? See, when you're further away, you can always come in later, come closer, or do a second coat to make it more light or dark depending on what color you're using. When you're further away, you're just going to be so subtle because you're putting much less paint on there, or ink, depending on what you're working with. Get rid of that. Now we had very little white there, so you see how fast it actually goes through. James says his glasses are so bad I have to take them off to see anything up close. Oh man, that is. I miss not having to wear glasses. There's these two blasts of light here in the folds, and we're just going to hit that real quick. Look how I have I'm pretty far away. Let's take a look here. See the distance I am? Pretty far. And we'll go back here. What's very interesting is when I leave one scene to another, I do have the thing is I lose the chat pretty quickly. So I just have to go back in. This happens every week. It's sort of a, I think it's a glitch having to do with XSplit. XSplit is my software. So let's just go here to this scene here. Okay, so we're going to sign in with Google. You know, I've been so engrossed in today's, this is the first time I'm looking at the clock. I can't believe it's almost, you believe it's 11:06 already, guys? I feel like I just started, and that just goes to show you how much I enjoy everyone's company. You know, it's a beautiful thing when that happens. So thank you everyone for coming to the live stream and being my friend and everything. I really appreciate that so much, more than you guys know. Okay, you guys are back. Okay, cool. So let's see what I missed. Willie says he has a love-hate relationship with his glasses. I know exactly what you mean, that's for sure. And Rick says he's doing better than he thinks he is. We are our worst critic. Yes, and we are our worst critics, right? That's so true. And thank you so much, Kiva. Kiva says it looks great already. I appreciate that. Means a lot to me. And let's see. Wendy says, I bet dollar. So she says, I bet dollar stare ones can't see up close. That's pretty funny. James says, I'm glad I could be here this week. Me too, James. It's so great to talk to you. And Raul, thank you. Raul says, being my friend is easy. Well, it's easy to be your friend too, Raul. Thank you so much, man. You guys are the coolest. 11:08 already. Look at that. I mean, I can't tell you at that other job how long 2 hours went. It was an eternity. So this is definitely a lot of fun. So now she does look like a ghost. But you know, it's that's what I wanted, you know. Yeah, right, Tim. Sure, that's what you wanted. No, really, this is the way I wanted to look at this point. Let's think about chess, right? Chess, not checkers. So we're just setting things up. So pretty funny stuff. Okay, now I'm going to let that dry. Now, I know how you feel. I had to put in my, let me see if I can show you guys. I had to put in my USB mic, because the other mic was just, I mean, the other USB keyboard, because I had a wireless one, and it was typing in like every other letter, and I was writing in some strange language, so it was like, what? So I had to go ahead and change that. So that was pretty funny. Yes, Casper, that is so true. Yes, there is a ghost sighting. Very true, Willie. That is so funny. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start to do some subtleties. Raul says, now that I watched you, Tim, I'll start my work tonight. New project. That's amazing. Do you have an idea what it's going to be, or are you just going to pretty much, you know, begin something more of an improv? So I'm so cool that you're going to begin a new project. New project, man. That's always the best feeling, isn't it? I'm just going to go ahead and calm down these pencil lines. I'm going to do the 3 to 4 mixture. Remember I used to start with the 3 to 3? I like starting the 3 to 4 mixture. Frida Kahlo, wow, yeah, I've done some Frida Kahlos over the years, and what a... Now, Frida Kahlo, is that correct, Raul? Because, wow, she was a very beautiful woman. Of course, she didn't paint herself beautiful. She painted herself quite unattractive sometimes. Yeah, she does. We used to sell them. You know, my ex is an artist as well, and we used to sell Frida's. One year, one of her little Frida sketches sold for like $200. It took her like a half hour. It was really good, mind you, but it was just amazing. You know how, and that was the year that Frida Kahlo, the movie Frida came out, starring Salma Hayek, and also directed by Salma. Was it? No, she was producer. She also produced and starred in that, so that's really cool. So Wendy, that unpaid internship starts tomorrow. That's too funny. Very funny. So the internship for the fur. All right, I think Bill's got something going, man. It's pretty cool. Because I want to make sure that the pencil lines are really light, because we are doing things adjacent to this light, so we want to make sure. So, Raul, so you use Photoshop to lay it out. So, Raul, do you have a tablet, like one of those digitizing tablets like this one? This is one of the ones I have. It's by Huion, and it's a tablet that you use with one of these pens. And that's what I'm learning with when I'm doing, my work. So is that something that you're using? So Wendy says she's bringing a cat to practice. And then if you want to come paint fur, I'll definitely cook. And that's so funny. And, Raul says you bought the X Pen 02, and that goes with your iPad. Is that correct? That's really great. So James says, yeah, I don't paint well on an empty stomach. That's true, man, because in an empty stomach, all I think about is food. So that's not good at all. So, but, let's see. Yeah, we definitely have to make sure that our stomach and our thirst is taken care of before we paint. Fur tastes horrible. I'm sure it does, yeah. Ugh. Okay, so we still have 15 minutes in our live stream. So what we can do is we could go ahead and start our initial lay-in with our 3 to 4 mixture, and that is 3 full eyedroppers of which camera you think's better to show. This one here? I think this one is good. I just can't see your comments right now. But what we're going to do is, before I do that, so I went ahead and purchased this ink. It's this is ink by ProArt. It's a little more of a student grade, but maybe we should try a video and see how it reacts in comparison to Higgins. Let's see head to head if Higgins is still a champion, right? So let's go ahead and do that. And it's not sponsored in any way by ProArt, although they should sponsor me because I am showing their product. So let's take our current champion, which is the Higgins, and we'll go back to this particular. So we're going to do 3 to 4. So we're going to do that times 2. So we're going to do 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We'll times it by 3. So 9 and 12. I'm going to get our eyedropper, 3-inch eyedropper, and we're going to do 12, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now that 12 was for my benefit, not for you guys, because I'm the one who's going to lose count, and I'm not going to know what my mixture is. So I do apologize for that. So what we can do is we could go ahead and get rid of all the... I want to flush this out real quick. I'm going to clean it later, but it's good to flush it out. Don't let that white settle and sort of dry up and make more work for us. So let's go ahead and get this eyedropper here. Fill this wonderful Patriot Extreme. So yeah, Ken's going to be really happy when he hears about how the Extreme fared against the Eclipse. So he's going to feel really good about that. I'm just blowing this out real quick, guys. I'm going to blow it out a little bit more, just one more shot. But it's good to see how thorough you have to be to make sure that your cleanup's not worse down the line. And once I do that, I'll put a little bit of water and leave that in the airbrush. Put the cap on. Park it. Take the hose off. And put in your favorite and my favorite airbrush, the ever reliable Sotar 2020 Slim. So can you tell I like this airbrush, guys? Putting my artwork far away. Remember, your initial test sprays are always on a test paper, never ever on your artwork. So the .20 needle on this, we're going to do 2 drops in here. We're going to take our ink mixture, put it over here. Let's do our initial. Isn't that beautiful, guys? Well, I'm going to go back here. How beautiful that's working. You see, James, if I'm far away with this sphere, I can do real subtle changes here because I'm far away. And if I want to get, lighter, I just go further away. And when I want to go darker, I just gradually go close. And then you can do some really nice blends there. Almost like the way digital art works. So let's see what I missed here. So James says, can't do straight lines on a full stomach either. Bill says, that's what rulers are for. Very funny. And then he says, I draft for work, so I see straight lines all day. Very interesting. So James loves drafting. What programs does he use? He just plays around on graph paper. Very cool. Although I use Blender to do some 3D modeling. Great. And he says, old school. Heath works on AutoCAD and SolidWorks, among others. When I get too far from paper, I get a lot of overspray. Yes, and that, you know what, and I think if you lower the air pressure, you might do better. But you can do some good things using your freehand shield or something like that to control the overspray, or put some paper there. So that might work. So, but definitely keep practicing and see exactly, what would be the best solution. It's just playing around with it. And you have me and everyone here if you have any questions. Everyone's so cool to answer questions. So I'm just going to very lightly start my dark here. Let me lower the ISO here just a little bit. Actually, not the ISO, but the... Is that better? What do you think? Is that a little better, guys? I just lowered the shutter speed a little bit. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and go into the eyes. I'm looking at large shadow shapes right now. And that's what I'm looking to do. He says he struggles with overspray as well. He's interested to see how I deal with the black beside the white. Yes, and that's true, Heath. And what I do is I definitely am very gradual, and I don't use black. I build it up, and then at the very end I'll use black, but at that point I'm going to use a shield to shield everything. See how I'm just getting these really large shapes, guys? And these small shapes, that's something that I'm going to deal with later. But look how this, now this is just so beautiful how the Sotar works. Effortlessly. Erase as you go. Where you see it might be a problem, you can go ahead and erase any pencil lines that you see. Bill says, Bill says, if not using shields, you can angle the airbrush into your location, allowing overspray to drift for blending. Yes, overspray can definitely, I agree with Bill, overspray can be your friend, you know, if you anticipate it. And in the early going, overspray is helping us to create a much more unified image. So James says, look at the sharp definition down her nose. I don't get I get uneven blobs. Well, and I do understand, and that I have that problem too, especially in the past. So don't feel bad, James. That we all go through that, and sometimes we go through that. You know, I still go through that sometimes. And the trick is to just, you know, when you're not doing your own painting, play around with different mixtures and everything, and really see what is the best dilution, the best distance. See what happens when you do different things. And that's when we become airbrush painters and not painters who use airbrush. Now let me clarify that. You know, there are painters who use airbrush, but they are airbrush artists. And I don't think airbrush artist is a bad word. I think it's a good word. I think it's when you're using airbrush with all its attributes to your best interest, that's when you're really becoming an airbrush artist. I watch some of the live streams of some of the artists who do airbrush for like, and Wendy knows who I'm talking about, who does these airbrush underpaintings, or the background she'll do an airbrush. But she is by far not an airbrush artist because she's just using airbrush for a means to an end, but she has no idea of the subtleties and how to use the brush, how to make airbrush do things you want it to do, you know? Like some of the things, like overspray. Overspray could really benefit your work when you know how to artfully use it. Now, one of the things is that the ink, the regular India ink, goes really beautifully over the white, but white does not go beautifully over the India ink. And I'm sure you've seen that with the blue shift and other other paints, guys, it can get really bad really fast. And that's a little strong right here, but what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and erase that only when it dries. I'm going to do some freehand shielding later, but right now it's all about big shapes. Now we don't have to worry about overspray when we're doing the India ink. That's the beauty of India ink, guys. So using the India ink, you can definitely do a lot of erasing. You can't do as much with the white, so you got to treat it a little bit differently, more like acrylic. And Heath says that he needs to learn to avoid overspray, and that's great because we're going to go over that a lot in this 4-part series, so that's a lot of fun. So you're going to enjoy that, Heath. And Willie asked me, when did I first start airbrushing? I first started airbrushing in 2010. And I remember I just wanted to learn to do airbrushing as underpaintings for my pastels. And the rest is history. My first airbrush was a Badger 150. And I used that for a while, and then I went ahead and seen this video of someone using the Highline series of the Iwata. So I was with Iwata for many years, and then just recently, after being with Iwata, for many years, not being all too happy with how they break so easily, I have been very happy with the switch over to Badger. Very happy. So much so that, Badger really appreciates it and the work that I do. Wow, that's fantastic. So he says he's working on Rebecca, and when I do the dress, so great. So I can't believe that's gonna be amazing. So I know you did great with the last portrait you did of the actress. Just breathtaking. So right here, and wow, we are so close to the end, guys, of this live stream, but this was a fun live stream. Not many of us were here, but those were here were supposed to be here. So Heath says that he ordered the Slim on Ken's birthday. Way to go, Heath. You were going to love that airbrush, I think we're going to be like a Sotar 2020 Sling group, a community. I think it's true, because I'm so confident in recommending that airbrush because, as you can see, the difference this airbrush has over the Iwata, how easy it is to use, and just no issues whatsoever. And notice the nice distance I am away from, guys. It's really good. Ink Slimmers. I like that. The Ink Slimmers. It almost sounds like we're dieting or something, right? Airbrush artists who are watching their figures. Too funny. So I'm just going to adjust this here. Because I do like this kind of edge that's against the strap of her dress here. Now this side is all going to be sort of blended out. She's coming out of the background here. And I think it gives a little more of a spiritual quality to her. I like it. I really enjoyed it in the last painting. Kiva says, did they email you yet, Heath? I haven't heard back. Now, so Kiva, you ordered a Badger, is that correct? If you did, that's amazing. So we are at 11:29. I'm going to put 2 more drops of airbrush and then we'll conclude. 2 more drops of ink in here. And then we'll conclude this live stream. Very successful live stream, guys. Very successful. Remember, initial brush, initial test is never on the artwork, always on the spare. You're going to hear my voice when you're working, and that's what a good teacher does, is that, my teachers, I've been away from my teachers for like, 20 some odd years, 30 years, and I still hear their voices when I work. Like, don't cut corners, make sure, you begin the process of lights, the highlights, the lights in the beginning, don't wait, because then it just becomes like an afterthought. Bring all the lights and darks together. So let's see. So Norm says, oh yeah, so basically Willie says we all need to get Sotar tattoos. That's pretty good. We got to figure out where we're going to put them, though, there, Willie. That's the question. Too funny. So Norm says, good one, Heath. And that is true. And then James says, he missed the beginning. What kind of paper? No problem. That is the Dreadnought Gray by De La Rowney. It's cardstock, Canford cardstock, 8.5 by 11 inches. And Bill says, hey, a bonus. I own 12 airbrushes or more, fully outfitted with paints from various manufacturers. Wow, that's pretty good. So real quick, Bill, what are your top 3 airbrushes? So Kiva says, yeah, I haven't heard either. I'm sure they have millions of emails to answer, though. So Kiva, you got the Sotar Slim. That's so fantastic. God bless. I think you're going to love it. You're going to do great things with it. You really are. And let's see. So Bill says, and if you tire of fur, I have motorcycle parts that need sanding. Willie says, that's so funny thing. Tim, I think of you every time I start painting. Yes, it's so true. You hear me saying, don't do your initial tests on your painting, but on your, on the test paper. So yeah, same thing. It's true. When you really, you have a good teacher, what they say really sticks. And I credit my teaching to all the wonderful teachers that I studied with. And I'm so blessed to study with those amazing artists. And, and that's something that I'll always be thankful for. Freehand shield here to get that edge. So we have a long way to go with this. This is the early going of this portrait, but I think we made a lot of progress. Week 1 is always interesting, guys, right? So you guys know week 1 is always interesting. How's Tim going to pull this off? But you guys who've been with us for a while, you know that, this is all part of the process, that this is very important to get to that end stage of the game. So let's see. So he says, love to help with that, Bill, but would like to try body parts. Oh my God. Bill says he uses his Eclipse the most, but Micron occasionally, using the Sotar more now. Yes, love to hear it. That is so great. We're getting those Sotar converts more and more. Not for any other reason, but it's the airbrush that really is, really the top right now, I think. And Bill and James says, Bill, do you have anywhere to park a semi? That's too funny, Jay. You guys are too much. So Willie, you have a great night. Norm, take care. Have a great week. We are at 11:34. I really appreciate everything. Week here, and thank you everything for making this Wednesday perfect, and I hope you guys have a great week. I'm going to put this on my going to stay on the YouTube channel. If you want to watch it over and over again, you can, and you can also see it on my blog. I will talk to you guys on Ink Flingers group on Facebook. Take care, guys.